that he has that too.
Okay, and we are starting to go live here. 1 second. Hello, everybody. We're just getting ready here to go live with you all in a couple seconds. I just have to click on a few things. Okay, I think we are doing good here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining Pro Surf Blog today for another episode of Epic Surf News. We're having a board meeting today with none other than Mitch Farner and Liam O'Callahan. How you guys doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing super. After a sick week or week plus of waves, you guys. I mean, it was a good mix of things happening. I mean, I'm definitely tired. I'm definitely sunburnt. I'm trying to keep my skin on, and I'm sore. I'm well fed, from the all-you-can-eat buffet of waves. So everybody, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about last week's waves, and we'll let Mitch and Liam talk about that, and then Mitch got injured a few days back. So we're going to let him talk about that as well. So in terms of the swell, how did you guys start off? It's kicked off like on a Friday, Saturday. And so how did you guys begin the swell journey?
Well, hey, Phil, thanks for having us on for one. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And so, yeah, we all knew there was a swell coming, obviously. We've been pretty excited about that. And so I kind of jumped the gun a little first, and I went down to Lowers on Monday.
Okay.
And I had a really good time.
So when you went to Lowers, did you go straight to Lowers, or did you go to Uppers, or how did that evolve?
I rode my bike down and I stopped at Uppers for about 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I was watching Lowers from there, and I couldn't help it. That the wave was so good down there, and it was kind of good size, so I thought I'd go give it a shot, and ended up having a really good day down there. The crowd was awesome and good surf. So,
yes. So the bike, when you said bike, you mean a push bike or a new school
regular Strand Cruiser?
Wow, look at you! All right,
no rack. Just hold it in one arm and go.
Old school. Nice.
And try to save as much as I could.
Yeah.
So
Friday, there was a lot of push. I mean, it was kind of, I guess the dial is moving on when the actual waves were going to hit the biggest, but Friday was a pretty sizable day. When you pulled up on Lowers, you're riding a bigger board, Mitch. So when you pulled up on Lowers, on the first day there, how was the vibe? How did you kind of work your way into the crowd?
Yeah, that was my main concern, was not getting hassled by my board. Wasn't true. I ended up not so. Everybody was really cool and
cool.
Kind of was really nice. I had a really good experience on Monday surfing Lowers. Nice. Really, really fun.
That's great. Cool.
Because I never surfed it. And the size board I like to ride was making me not sure if I wanted to go out there and hassle around with that stuff. So, but I was wrong. I really enjoyed that day a lot.
That's cool. I've shortboarded there, a bunch of times, but I want to surf a bigger board over time, and we've talked about that in separate discussions. And so I definitely want to take a big board. I personally think it's kind of a softer burger wave, ideal for a bigger board. That's my kind of take on it. And before I go any further, everybody, if you want to learn more about Mitch and Liam, we have several other board meetings from the past over the last couple of years, and so you can head over to my YouTube channel, Epic Surf News, watch those so you can kind of learn maybe part of all of our journeys to where we are today, which is pretty exciting and pretty fun. So you had a really good day. How big were the waves on that first day, Mitch?
They were probably a foot or two overhead. Yeah, about a foot or two overhead. And I surfed twice that day. And there was actually a time where the crowd got pretty thin, which was really nice. So yeah, I've never surfed there. I think I surfed there one other time in my life. And so yeah, it was really fun wave. I'm glad the crowd was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's always hit and miss too.
That was good.
So we before I move forward there too, I'll talk to you, Liam, about your surfing over there. But somebody with the handle on YouTube XUV, they said, "Good to see you, Mitch. Get well soon." So I just wanted to throw that out. I'm not sure who that person is by the handle, but they're already showing support for you, Mitch.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of nice messages from a lot of people. So to everybody that wrote to me and Liam, I really appreciate that. You know, surfing, like I said, I've met the best people in surfing. And there's a big reason why right there, you know. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, right on. XUV, thanks a lot. Liam, did you go out on Friday with Mitch as well, or when did you start hitting the swell?
Tuesday is when I started surfing lowers with Mitch, and it was double overhead plus. The swell got bigger, the south swell. Tuesday was the biggest day and the peak of the swell, and that's when I went to lowers with Mitch.
Okay, cool. And so Liam, was that your first time as well, or had you been there before?
I've shortboarded lowers a lot when I was in high school. Like I've been there about 3 or 4 times, because before I became a longboarder and a big wave rider, I was once upon a time a full-on shortboarder. Like I rode thrusters, I rode quads, and I did that all at lowers.
Okay.
And I remember I surfed lowers probably 4 or 5 years ago on a twin fin and just had the time of my life. And that was the last time I had surfed lowers. And this was my very first time surfing lowers. I had never surfed it over 6 foot, but just to see it double overhead plus was like, whoa, this place can handle some size.
Yeah. I think the biggest time I surfed it was Hurricane Marie, and I went down there, and it was huge. I mean, middles was actually breaking just as far out as lowers, which was super weird. And it was breaking good, but there was a few more walls in between. And so, I mean, it was very interesting holding on, doing these cartwheels underwater with your board and then coming back up. And so that's cool. Yeah, lowers is amazing. It can hold a lot of swell. Compared to, like, you guys like to charge over at Blacks a lot. So, I mean, how do you see lowers a little different compared to Blacks?
Well, I would say lowers, as you know, lowers is known for more of a high performance wave for your shortboarders. Like, it's for shortboarders and just any kind of surfer to go out there and just perform top to bottom maneuvers. Whereas Blacks is ridden mostly for the barrel, and Blacks is a much faster and heavier wave than lowers. There's no other wave like it in this county, in San Diego County.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've been pummeled harder at Blacks than lowers ever, and I've only surfed Blacks once. Thanks, Mitch.
Hey man, you tore it up, Phil.
All right, Phil out there charging.
Oh man, we'll see. I mean, I'm still scarred, but I'm getting through it.
Well, yeah, we did.
So Mitch, were you surfing between Friday and Saturday? I mean, this swell went Friday to Friday basically. So what happened between Friday and Saturday? Did you surf, or what happened?
Friday, you know what? I'm not sure if I did. I think I had work a little bit, and I was gearing up for Monday and Tuesday. So I know I had work on that weekend. Right. And I don't really have anything for you to say about that, but I know I kind of geared up for Monday and Tuesday. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was surfing. My life is in shambles. I'm just recovering right now because I surfed every single day, sometimes 2 sessions. And thanks to my wife and all the surfer wives and girlfriends out there, boyfriends, and everybody out there who's supporting their surfer. Definitely was really awesome. So Tuesday comes around. You guys got there early, late? When did you guys get there?
I would say around mid-morning we got up there, because we kind of waited for the morning crowd to taper away. So around 10 o'clock we got there. We watched uppers for a little bit, and then we saw the left at lowers just going off with nobody on it. Like everybody was on too small of a board
Right.
to get wave, and everybody was going right at lowers.
Right.
And then we see these big empty lefts, and then Mitch and I were like, we have to go check that out.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. We got down there around 10 o'clock, and then the tide was coming up. The rocks were all exposed.
Okay.
And I was down there the day before, and it seemed like the waves really turned on around lunchtime.
Right.
And it was the same kind of a effect on Tuesday as well. Tuesday had a little more water movement on the wave.
Right.
And Liam's right. There was some really good outside waves that really nobody was able to catch. And it had a little bit of wind on it and a little bit of water on it. So it was a little trickier than I had surfed it on Monday.
Okay. Right.
It was just had a little more movement and stuff going on than you could feel when you were dropping in.
Yeah, I was just down a couple of reefs away from you guys, and it was Tuesday was, it was a little more unruly where I was at as well. It was just,
Okay.
it was big and it was cool. Yeah. It was fun to feel, to stroke into the waves and feel the force of the wave pick you up. And, but definitely was a bit more challenging. And like you said, Liam, for the shortboard, people shortboarding, it seemed like they were struggling a little bit more.
Yeah, they knew their spot. It seemed like they knew they were going to have a hard time, so they moved in a little bit, and they were able to catch those waves.
Yep.
Right.
So when we paddled to the outside, we kind of had it to ourselves, just waiting for those freak sets.
Yeah.
But it didn't last long, huh, Liam?
Yeah, it didn't last long at all. Like it was like 30 minutes to an hour, like a double, triple overhead set would pop up out of the bloom, and everybody else would be out of position for it because all the best guys were sitting way inside, just tearing it up, lowers.
Right.
It's just so awesome to see radical shortboarders out there, and I'm so glad that they were cool with us. So thank you to all the locals at lowers. Shout out to them.
Yeah, right on. That's super awesome. And so, so before the wipeout, did you guys, get a couple waves under your belt, or how did that turn out?
We each got one good bomb left, like all the way across almost to uppers.
Yeah.
So we were stoked on that. And we also got him on the Surfline cam, and we're still carrying those videos with us as a reminder, like, even though we took a spill, like we still managed to get one good wave, one good bomb that we'll remember.
That's cool. It's a couple rare moments, including I think Hurricane Marine, but there's like a secret peak between lowers and uppers that breaks. Was that breaking?
Yes.
Oh,
It was that place was cranking. There was people out there.
I almost wanted to go there. I should have, the couple of times I went to lowers, I'm like, it's just such a novelty wave right there. I should, it seems like
Good question, and it's really rare that wave breaks in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
it is. It was pumping.
yeah, it
So-
sure was.
So, yeah. So, all right. So the wave comes, Mitch. I mean, you see this bomb coming in. I saw the video. It's a little grainy, everybody. So I'm not going to share it right now, but it's a Surfline, video.
Yeah.
So how big was this wave, do you think? I mean,
So-
the face.
So the wave before, me and Liam, we don't have that, but we punched through it, and it was quite a bit bigger than the wave that I fell on.
Okay.
But the wave that we went through was a nice, good sized wave. And the wave that I went on, the wave that we went through left a lot of white foam everywhere.
Oh, okay.
And when you watch the video, that white foam goes up into the face of my drop.
Yeah.
And being the last set wave, it kind of had a lot of weird things going on it. So when I dropped in on that wave, my balance wasn't perfect.
Right.
And then when I hit that little bit of foam and a little bit of that water movement, I was trying to save it as best I could,
Right.
and everything from that, the bottom of the wave, I definitely did not save it.
Okay. So yeah, everybody's watching with us right now. So, that's an interesting nuance there too. So, you scratch over a big wave. If you're far enough not to get drilled by it, you're really hoping as you're going over that wave that there's another one behind it.
That's what happened. Yeah.
And then you're hoping that as you're get over and going to that next wave, there's two scenarios. Sometimes it's cleaned it all up and it's just
Right.
kind of shallow, a little more shallow so it can suck up a little smoother, or there's a bunch of whipped cream all, everywhere, right?
Exactly. In most cases, what you said the first time seems to be the better wave on the last set, smoother.
Right.
That's not so on this wave I took off on, which, yeah, very true. Yeah.
So I watched the video, and then you know, I didn't quite understand, like, you know, the nature of the wipeout. So at first I thought
Me neither.
Yeah, you had to go back and look, right? So I assumed you hit your board or something when you said you broke your ribs. And so I looked at the video, and I don't know, I got my little drawing here. Let's see here. Turn this thing on. You know, so you got Mitch there. That's what I got. There's Mitch. He's going left. That's front side for you, right, Mitch?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's front side. So Mitch is going left. Now, when I watched the video, it kind of appeared as though, probably like you said, you hit some turbulence, and your board went forward, and then you kind of, at least to me, looked like you went more, you know, backwards or stayed in place. And I was thinking in my head, like, you know, wow, that actually seems like not the worst wipeout scenario. So what happened that, you know, what happened to your ribs? I don't get it.
So I can remember it. And, you know, it's the old saying, you know, rolling up the windows when you're off balance and your arms are going like you're rolling up the windows.
Right.
You're off balance. So I kind of started off that way, unfortunately. And I ended up falling on my back. Not so much on my back. The last second I tried to twist to try to knife in a little smoother, and it backfired. And when I twisted, I just hit my ribs.
Okay.
I didn't get my full spin going into where I wanted to be on my entry, on my fall.
Okay.
And yeah, I really took a bad shot in my ribs.
Right.
From the water impacting. That was a full water impact on my stomach.
Okay, so basically this is what happened.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so Mitch's board went forward. And so you twisted because you're trying to puncture the water, right? I mean,
yes.
It was kind of a conscious move that typically might help you not get pounded as hard.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Wow, but there was so much water. I mean, that day I took some beatings that day. I was definitely surfing, and I got some good waves. I somehow sorted a few out, but man, yeah. I took some beatings on that day. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And so so you go down. Did it happen immediately on impact, or were you whipping around? Okay.
No, immediately when I hit the water, I felt a huge burning sensation go through my chest. And right after that, my rib cage was really loose, and I felt my ribs broke as I was getting pounded.
Right.
I felt my rib cage was all.
So it feels broken. Loose, kind of loose inside.
I knew it was broken, and I knew. I didn't know how bad it was until I surfaced. When I surfaced, I had no air. Okay. And I couldn't breathe.
Because the first thing you're trying to do after you get pounded is you're trying to come up, trying to get some oxygen.
Yeah.
Because there's more waves coming. You know that.
Right? Eventually. And as I'm taking those deep breaths, which my ribs now are just, the pain level was out the chart because I'm trying to breathe and my ribs aren't allowing me to.
Right.
And I'm trying to reach for my board, and now my arms aren't working because my ribs are all broken. And so once I got my board, I just hung on to it, you know, and I could tell there was no waves coming because I took off luckily on the last wave.
Oh,
there was time there to have a moment of you know, trying to figure out what to do.
Right. You're kind of realizing what's happening. So basically when you're holding on to your board at that point, I mean, you're not making, like, typically you're trying to get back to the outside past the where the waves are going to break, but you basically are just kind of holding place. You're on the inside or in the middle.
No, I'm on the outside because I just took off. I'm pretty much 80% of the way out. Okay. So I couldn't move. I tried. Okay. And I couldn't breathe or move. I just couldn't. I was in trouble. You know.
And so there's other surfers. I mean, was this like the day previous where it was just you guys on the outside, or were there more people on the outside on this day?
It was just me and Liam on Tuesday on the outside. Honestly,
Okay.
it was kind of
Okay.
cool. It was really cool
Okay.
for the
Right.
short time we were there. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
you're out there, and so most people are probably more inside then. Of
Yeah,
you.
they're 50 feet to
Uh-huh.
150 feet behind us, 200 feet.
So you realize you're busted up, man, and you're out there. That's kind of, when you're feeling good, you're feeling good, and you're not even sweating what's going on. But when you are injured, things start to set in a little bit differently. So what did you do? How did you? What was your plan at that point?
Well, I know that me and Liam and a couple of our other buddies that we surf with, we've had this discussion.
Okay.
And so, but bro, I just reached out to the closest guys to help me, please, and
Okay.
to be honest, I don't have an answer for the reaction. There just wasn't much of one.
Right.
And I don't understand that.
Okay.
So I didn't waste my time on those guys very long. And
Right.
I knew to reach out to Liam.
Okay.
And,
Now,
you know,
could you see Liam?
Yeah, I knew where he was at.
Because that was the last wave, so everything had flattened out a little bit.
Yeah, it was nice time. And we got lucky on that. It was really nice for that part of the
Okay.
situation. So yeah, I just instantly knew that Liam was out there. I just called for him after giving up on the guys around me.
Okay, cool. Because like sometimes it's weird the way like if wind's coming with the waves, and you're talking or yelling. Sometimes it's harder. You have to actually yell louder to get past the wind. The way it works. So
yeah, I've always had a good loud voice. Ask my wife.
So
hear me coffee.
Oh yeah.
So Liam, you're sitting on the outside. I mean, you're probably assuming Mitch was just taking that wave on. And so what you heard him, and so what did you know what was happening, or how did that work?
I thought that he had made the wave at first because I was sitting on the outside, because in big wave surfing, especially if you're doing it with a close friend like Mitch, for example, I thought like as soon as you see your partner take off on a wave, you look back to make sure that he made it.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at the horizon, and then make sure no freaky sets are going to come and get caught inside. But then all of a sudden I'm sitting just looking on the outside, and then I hear my name being yelled, and then I turn around and it was Mitch, and he told me like, my ribs, I can't breathe. And then, yeah, like as Mitch said, like, I think a lot of the guys, I think part of the reason was they were on too small of boards to be able to pull them in. And a lot of them as well, like, it was hard for them to know what to do, because he was right in the impact zone, like right in the apex of where those sets were breaking. Right. So I am thankful that there was a long lull, so that I was able to get to him like all the way from the outside. And basically what I had him do was I had him get on his board and then grab my leash, and then I had to paddle him all the way in from the outside. Like it's quick north, because that there was a channel between lowers and uppers. Right. So I was able to paddle him through that channel and all the way in. Okay,
cool. Yeah. And I know, like, it's probably interesting because when you're out there, Mitch, you were probably not exactly sure what was wrong with you as well, right? And so, so like it's different. Like if your arm was, snapped in half or something, you'd be able to tell people like, my arm is broken. But you probably, and then of course, going to the impact zone where there's somebody holding onto a longboard also is it could be dangerous too, right? Like,
absolutely, because those boards, that's something that you don't see every day out there. Right. And I agree, it is dangerous. Like I understand like why a lot of those guys, because then they would be endangering themselves, and like us, and well, me as an experienced big wave surfer, I knew exactly what to do. I knew how to package them and pull them to safety.
Yeah,
you
and we're going to get into that a little bit too. And actually, segueing from your hat too, that actually is I have a little experience or with surfers healing, and so that's a whole kind of safety thing too as well, where it's built into the program. But so basically you got to Mitch,
Mhm.
and so you got 2 longboards though. So
Yeah.
like, so how what do you do at that point? I mean,
Basically what we had to do was, like, first I wanted to make sure that we were timing the paddle right, just in case if we started paddling in, then we see the sets on the horizon, we're going to be going, oh no. So
right.
basically what I had to do was first time the perfect way to get in, and like just read the lineup,
Right.
find the channel.
Okay.
And it wasn't a challenge until we got to the beach, because we got about halfway in, and then all of a sudden the sets started rolling in again, and Mitch and I took 5 waves on the head, like trying to get into the beach, and it's hard to get up those cobblestones. So basically there were 4 local surfers on the beach, like where we were able to stand, and they offered to take our boards in for us. They paddled up to us. They took both of our boards in for us. They were on the beach, and we were trying to get Mitch up the cobblestones. And there was one guy, he called for a lifeguard as well as an ambo.
Okay. So when you first get to him though, so you're both holding on to your own boards and kind of kicking in?
Yes. Well, Mitch was already on his board flat, like not moving. I had him grab onto my leash, and I was paddling him on my board all the way to the
cool.
beach.
Okay, so you were basically towing him in.
Yeah,
I was.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's good to know. I mean, because I was like thinking in my head, like, man, did you ditch your board and let it go and you're on one board? But okay, so a tow in, that seems like a good.
Yeah, I just held on to the back of his leash.
Okay.
And I just hit my head down. That's where I was at.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so then when you get to the cobblestone, like you said.
Well, yeah, well, before that, when we got almost to the cobblestones, those waves came. 5 waves.
We were about halfway in.
Yeah, 5 waves. And we went through that situation, and Liam never left. He was always, every time he was right there when the wave had already passed. And to be honest with you, that was probably one of the worst pains I've been through in a long time, because my ribs it was brutal. Yeah. So it was brutal. And then after those 5 waves, the funny part was trying to get in the last 20 feet. I mean, the beach is right there, and I cannot get my energy and my breathing and everything just to get to there. It took everything, all of us, to get me to that point. So that's when Liam was right there the whole time. He just didn't drop the ball.
So
ever.
I mean, you guys were you guys going under? Like, because I mean, the waves are coming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So then you're popping back up, and you're like, your eyes are probably wide, and you're like, okay, there you are again. You're still together, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And basically what I had to do too is like when the sets came, like there was big white waters in front of us, and I couldn't punch through. Like, it wasn't until the 4th or 5th wave I was able to punch through. All the other waves I had to bail my board and like swim to them, kind of, because I wanted to make sure, like, just because Mitch wasn't breathing at all, and it really it shook me. It really did. I'm like, and I was just trying to swim to him, just staying with him. Like, if my leash breaks, oh well, my board's in the rocks, but I'm not leaving Mitch behind.
Yeah. To interrupt us here, Tom Capella, he also said, yeah, Mitch. So Tom out there, thanks for throwing some hoots and
thanks, Tom.
Throwing support.
Good friend of mine. Thanks, Tom.
Awesome, Tom. So you got to the cobblestone. Now, when you're at the cobblestone, is it like 2 foot, 3 foot, 1 foot, or like 1 foot and then 3 foot when the wave comes? I mean, how was your walk?
All of it.
All of that.
Right.
It slowly goes to shallow water. Like, it gradually goes to shallow water.
Right. So you kind of get bumped around. Like, when the whitewash hits you from behind, it's, even if you're not injured, it's kind of hard, and you're trying to, like, typically you have your board and you can kind of like do these little subtle moves that help your feet from not getting all cut up. Right.
Basically what we had to do is 4 local surfers offered to help us. So they took our boards in for us. And basically what I had to do, because Mitch was barely breathing and he was barely able to move, as soon as we got into like 2 or 3 feet of water, I had him wrap his arm around my shoulder and carried him up the cobblestones.
Okay.
So
So,
he turned into beast mode.
well, I mean, like Mitch, what, you weigh 90 pounds or what? So this was easy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, super easy. Beast mode.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
Hold on one
Liam.
sec.
Yeah,
So,
Liam did a great job that
so
day.
when you help him, I mean, does he have, I mean, because I imagine everything hurts. So like you have your arm around Liam, or like how do you?
Yeah, he was being the hero, man, getting me out of there best he
Okay.
could.
So what about your feet, Liam? I mean, are your feet getting cut up or what?
My feet were, you know what? Surprisingly, my feet weren't getting cut up at all. Like my
Okay.
even if they were cut up, like I was just saying, my main priority was getting
Right.
Mitch to safety. Like if
Right.
I don't, like I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about my board. I didn't care about
Right.
my feet. I just cared about getting him to safety.
Cool. Okay. So you get past that extremely like last stretch, which at least like you're probably not going to drown, but it's like you definitely can collect a few more injuries on the way through there. So you get to the sand and you come up on the sand now. So Mitch, what do you do when you get to the sand?
To be honest with you, it's kind of embarrassing. I was screaming. I
Okay.
couldn't get comfortable.
Mhm.
And
But you don't scream that loud.
yeah, you should have heard those noises. They were pretty. They were
Okay.
pretty.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and I, for not trying to say, I've had quite a few injuries from motocross, and
Right.
this one was, the ocean was a whole other animal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get hurt normally on the ground.
Right.
Yeah. I got hurt in a bad, so it was a lot different than being hurt on the.
Right. Because drowning, you don't usually drown on the ground on land.
That's right. So we had to fight out there. We had to fight to get.
And so lowers, I mean, that beach is, I mean, these days there's a bunch of e-bikes and a bunch of umbrellas. And so were there a lot of, there must have been a lot of people on the beach this day.
There were quite a few people with cameras and e-bikes, and,
Okay.
but it wasn't until we got to the beach that somebody like really assisted us. Like I think one guy behind a camera called the lifeguards for us, as well as an AMBO. Like I think the lifeguards called the AMBO.
Okay.
And the fire department. And so basically shortly after that, 15 minutes later, the lifeguard shows up,
Mhm.
and then they drive us up to the top of the trail where the ambulance was waiting.
Mhm. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, it's interesting. Well, you know, I've been, well, like you talked about land, Mitch, you know, I've seen bad car accidents happen. I've seen people in like cars, like men get out to help the person who's injured or start to, and then freeze up. Like some people kind of go into shock. They like when there's something really hardcore happening,
Good point.
they go into shock themselves. And so I recall before having to help a lady, I mean, her bone was coming out of her leg, and
Oh.
she started shaking on the ground, and I quickly had to tell somebody to get a blanket and cover her and to get her to calm and start talking to her and start talking to her kids who were screaming. In the water though, a few times I've helped people. There was a guy who had like a heart attack one time.
Oh,
Some minor injuries I saw happen, but the one that was probably the most close or scary to me was surfing with a friend, Huntington north side of the pier on a pretty big day. I mean, not super huge, but a good quality overhead day. And he didn't have a surfboard, so he borrowed. I had this like collector's Robert August kind of pintail, thicker in the front, kind of like a early 80s, cool colors. So he put us too small of a leash on it, or grabbed one that I had. So he kicked out of a wave. The board hits him right here. He still has the scar in his kind of his sideburn. So it created a whole flap, you know, and he was bleeding profusely out of it. But he caught the wave, like you guys are saying. I was out the back, probably just caught a wave, went back out. And then somebody paddled up to me and said, "Hey, your buddy's on the inside bleeding. He's hurt." I'm like, okay, I wasn't sure like what that meant. I'm like, okay, do I wait to catch a wave? Do I just paddle in? So I just paddled in, and I saw him kind of about chest high water. It was kind of a deep section, and he was just kind of like doing this, like just all like spaced out, and just kind of like the ocean was kind of rocking him back and forth. And so I got him to shore, and then some other people helped to, flag down the lifeguard. And then they took him to the hospital. But what was weird or different was that the person probably should have went and helped him directly instead of coming out to tell. I mean, it's nice to somebody to tell me, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't. Anything could have happened between that point of him seeing him,
Yeah.
and coming back out to the outside to tell me, right? And so,
Yeah.
so it's kind of weird. I think, we talked about a little bit about this before too, Mitch, but like, surfing's different, right? I mean, it's not like baseball or football where there's years and years and manuals and all this information compiled and things that have been tried, right?
Yeah.
People get into surfing for a lot of different reasons. People come in at kind of different ways, whether it's short boarding or long boarding or SUP and how often they surf, who they surf with. Did they ever go to a surf class or surf school, or did they, all these different ways. I noticed that people come in and there's no, surfers, you can't really paddle. I mean, you can, but it's hard to paddle over to a surfer and tell them what to do, right? Like, hey, you're supposed to do this or that. And because I mean, a lot of surfers might get defensive and, yell at you or cuss you out for trying to tell them something. And it's hard to find the right tone, right? To offer to people as well, especially if maybe they did something that put you in danger or something and you're a little upset. So the good news in this case, guys, is that you guys are surfing, buddy system. At least you had each other. You guys have surfed before, big waves before, a variety of locations. And so, I mean, in this case, that is pretty much what saved you, Mitch.
Liam saved me.
Awesome.
Period.
Right on, Liam.
He just did.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I didn't really realize how bad I was hurt until he picked me up, because the breathing and the movement, it was gone. And it was gone. And so, just ribs can break and leave you in that situation. It doesn't seem like much. Yeah, a couple ribs, but it does take all your air out of you and your movement. So that combination with water and waves doesn't equal very well. And it could be other injuries as well that would allow you to be in that situation. But I know when they take away your breathing and your ribs, that's pretty, it was, man. I was scared.
Pretty important.
I couldn't take care of myself.
Right.
And so, that's why.
Yeah. The only thing worse would be probably being unconscious. Right. But
the pain level,
close.
The pain level was definitely up there. And I knew I could have punctured my lung because that's how intense my pain was. So I didn't know how much time we had before. I don't know. I just didn't know. That's what made it scary.
Right. So you guys have, because you've done some big wave stuff. So you guys have have practiced with things like inflatable jackets. How about helmets? Have you guys messed with helmets at all, or?
No.
Maybe I might look into one, because my parents especially, they're like, if you get hit in the head by your board underwater, something knocks you out, you can drown. So I think a helmet, like one of those gaff helmets, would definitely be a good purchase, like for anyone, who's cautious about getting hit in the head by their board, because that can happen.
Or someone else dropping in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I've, there's a place in Carlsbad where I've surfed, and I've noticed when there's waves get bigger, there's a guy who comes out with a helmet, and I'm always kind of like, there's a couple big boulders scattered, and I'm always like, man, I wish I had that helmet right now, because so what was that brand that you said, Liam?
It's called Gaff helmets, and I know quite a few big wave riders in Hawaii that use them at Waimea and some of the other crowd. It's big wave spots over there because Waimea, you know how crowded it gets. Like,
Yeah, right.
but I have friends that wear helmets,
Mhm.
but not all of them. Some of them.
Right. Yeah. It's, you know, as a surfer, like you always want to have the least amount of gear on because it feels so good. You know,
Yes.
be in trunks and all that. And I've seen at the same time, I've seen, you know, a lot of reputable surfers, legends out there that have kind of started to kind of put a little, you know, positivity behind wearing helmets, even if it's not life threatening per se, but like you
Mhm.
said, if it's crowded.
Yeah.
And, you know, you know, you think about like football or baseball, these sports, like there was a time when they didn't have helmets, right? And then they're like,
Yeah.
okay, there's all these people that kind of end up old vegetables and
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Anything can
so
happen out there.
yeah, so I you know, I don't want to wear a helmet, but you know, I definitely situations that become life threatening, you know, or even like the vest, right? Like it was probably wasn't big enough for you to think of wearing the vest, but maybe that would have
Oh, it would have saved my
held you
wrist.
together,
Oh, it
right?
would've.
You
Oh,
know,
it would have. Oh, yeah.
right?
yeah.
But then you got to walk out twofold. You got to lowers with the longboard, and then you're gonna have a vest on. You're not gonna look cool, Mitch.
Really?
Well, the only time you pull out the vest really is if it's at like a serious break, like Todos, Mavericks, Waimea Bay, like any of those big deep water spots that will hold you down for like a long time.
Oh,
That's
blacks.
usually when it, well, believe it or not, I don't know if I no, blacks is good preparation. I never wear vests out there.
Oh man,
like,
I might.
I just save it. I just save that for the serious waves.
That
because
canyon's pretty deep. I found out.
it is. It's almost 1,000 feet at its deepest point.
I know. I felt like I was about 1,000 feet down there.
Yeah,
So,
but
but
that's
you know,
black.
it's just kind of interesting though. Like, you know, like maybe in 10 or 20 years, who knows? A big swells at lowers, people might be wearing vests or
You know,
helmets.
Well, you never know. Like, because the bottom's always changing, the ocean's always changing. That's one thing that Mitch and I really enjoy about big wave riding is
Sure.
like it's not just it's not just about the element of danger, but it's also the brotherhood that we have out there. You know, we don't just train for ourselves, but we train to help other people as well.
Sure. And so like, you know, over the years, that was bro. So like in terms of safety, I mean, you know, it's kind of one of those things, like I think my mom was a nurse. And so there's probably like a couple subconscious things I know when things happen. But like outside of that, like specifically to surfing, are there certain safety things that you recall or dodge tips? I mean, like, you know, like what are you prepared for in the future?
watch each
Like,
other on
watch
big
each
waves.
other.
It's all you
Yeah.
can really do is, you know, you got to have somebody watching.
That's
on,
right.
like Liam said, on their takeoff. If you're out on that triple overhead day, you know, you got to have a buddy
Or
plan,
bigger.
you
Or
know,
bigger.
Or bigger.
Yeah, you know, or it's, you know, that's something we got to talk about.
Because I remember when we went to Todos, like it was my first time down there this past winter. When we went to Todos, it was 25 foot. We went down there with a great group of dudes and we all had each other's back. Like every time when somebody took off on a wave, we were watching like, oh, did he wipe out? Oh, did he make it?
Yeah,
Right.
because we didn't have jet ski or
Yeah.
anything, so we had to use our own natural abilities to come in and like what Liam did.
Mhm.
So
Like we had to use our own, like, because all we had was a support boat to take us out there. We had no jet skis, like none of that stuff. So basically, if somebody got hurt, we would basically have to risk our lives as well to go in, grab them, and paddle them back to the support boat if they got hurt.
and there's been plenty of those rescues there, as you probably know, Phil.
So have you guys like, you know, there's only, I don't know, the last like 5 or 10 years, there's been like a kind of like a bunch of these kind of big wave safety survival courses. Have you guys looked at any of that stuff or what do you know about that stuff?
Actually, there's this one at Turtle Bay. It's very expensive. It's called the Big Wave Assessment Group, something like that. It's
Okay.
at Turtle Bay. It's at Turtle Bay on the North Shore.
Yeah, beautiful place.
I've heard about it. I know some people that do it,
Mhm.
but at the same time, usually the way Mitch and I train, like I do a lot of cycling, and
Okay.
I just started doing pool training at his house.
Yeah, that's cool. Carrying
Like,
some weights
you know, like,
in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about that? What about where you rough each other up in the pool underwater? Have you done that?
I asked him.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as he heals, we'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll
See?
do it. We're gonna go down there and wrestle
Yeah.
as soon as he gets here.
Yeah. I want to go rough you up, Liam, underwater. Come on. Let me.
Yeah, well, hey, why not both of you at the same time?
There you go.
Because honestly, that's the most realistic way to train, because
Right.
because anybody can just sit in one place and hold their breath. Like, that's
Right.
easy. Like, the
Right.
wave is not gonna, like a 25, 30-foot wave or bigger is not gonna hold you in one place. It's
Right.
gonna drag you maybe the length of a football field underwater, if not
your-
more. And you're
your
gonna be doing
limbs.
somersaults in all different directions. So you just
Right.
have to be ready for that. So
All
what
right.
you
All
just
right.
suggested, Phil, is probably the most realistic way to train.
All right, everybody. So you heard that right now. I was invited. All right. So I can't wait for this day. This is gonna be fun.
I'll referee you too.
Yeah. But on that note, surfers healing as well. You got the hat. That's an interesting environment, right? So I've been to some of those events, and so you've got there, they have a really awesome ratio of, people that have all these CPR and surfing skills, and then you have students that are kind of vulnerable or at risk, some of them, and they're helping them. They're really, I don't think they lose a whole lot of people in those events. I mean, they actually give people a good experience, get them to the water and back safely.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing about those events. Basically, the Surfers Healing event was founded by a former professional longboarder named Israel Paskowitz.
Yes.
It's basically an organization where we take children with autism surfing for the day, and a lot of them either have never been in the ocean before, or it's their first time ever on a board. So basically what they do is we have them wear life jackets.
Right.
So if they were to fall off the board, they would just come right up to the surface.
Right. And then they got people at different distances from the shore that are there to, maybe catch them and get them back to the board, which is pretty cool. And I noticed a lot of the volunteers there are seasoned longboarders. Because and so that's interesting too, is that I even tried to volunteer one time, but they're like, nah, bro, you're a shortboarder, bro. Like, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something, like turning those big tandem boards, those 11-foot, 12-foot tandem boards.
Yeah.
I'd say it would definitely help to have a longboard background. So
So after that,
Phil, did that hurt? That hurt
Oh,
bad when they
dude.
told you that?
yeah, no, I signed up. They said, yeah, come down, and there's like,
Shortboarder.
they have a little like, yeah,
Oh,
as you know, Leo. I mean, they didn't quite say it like that, but like basically they just kind of like walked away, and I had nothing to do. But like before they go out, they have like a little pep talk, right? So I'm like standing there with the group of guys, and then, but now everybody's. So that made me want a longboard too. I'm like, what do you, I was like, wait, hold up, like what's going on? So that makes me want to become a very experienced longboarder as well. So I'm working my way up, guys. I'll meet you there at some point. So that's cool. That's cool, Liam, that you do that and you're helping people surf, and that's all about that's all about safety and community. Those
and
things.
riding what makes you happy. Ride any piece of equipment that makes you happy, whether it's a shortboard, a longboard, a sub, like whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat. Go for it.
And what's cool though is that in that case, the longboard makes you happy, but it makes somebody else happy. That's what's really cool about.
Yeah, like I have friends that are 100% shortboarders. But they're also, I got them on a longboard one time, and they were naturals. They were actually nose riding and cross stepping, and I was like, whoa. But at the same time, I always obey by ride what makes you happy, ride what's correct for the conditions. Like if it's small, like if it's like, pull out a longboard, but I ride a longboard and everything. But
right.
Like that was my mentality when I was a kid. I would ride a shortboard when the waves were like head high, and then if the waves were below head high, I would ride a longboard, like a high performance longboard or a log or whatever I was feeling. But now I just ride 100% longboard. Like whether if it's 1 foot or 10 foot, I'll be on a longboard.
That's where I'm at the mid-length stage. So I'm able to, I think, do that almost to the biggest waves I can handle. But yeah, it does take a different kind of approach and skill to do it.
It does.
So,
Like
yeah.
it's a different aspect of surfing. It's like
Your lines are drawn out longer. a little bit.
totally.
That's
Yep.
all. And the better you get at connecting with that longer board, the sharper and better you'll get on it.
Right on the
So-
money. Right on the money.
So I'm going to share an image here and just kind of talk about it, kind of on that kind of safety and precaution stuff. You guys can see that image, okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this sign, this is an old picture, I don't know, back 10 years ago almost, over at Rincon. Some beaches, I think all beaches should have this sign. This is the tip of it. I'm going to scroll down a little bit on it, but it's basically a surfboard. It has like 3 or 4 things that, you know, that you should keep in mind as a surfer, because like we're saying, there's no official rite of passage, right? There's not like you have to pass this, and this to go surf at lowers or 5 foot day or 10 foot day. It's, fortunately and unfortunately, people can just do whatever they want, right? Which can be dangerous. So Rincon and several other beaches in Southern California and around the world have these signs. I think we need one in Oceanside. I think we need one pretty much everywhere is what I would suggest.
I would
So
say those signs would be functional anywhere, like, because not at lowers. I would say at more of the dangerous spots, like, blacks, they should have one, because any kind of heavy wave, that's doable, but everybody should respect each other out there anyway, regardless if it's Rincon or just anywhere around the world. But specifically dangerous spots, they should have more of those signs.
Yeah. So in this case, it starts at the top, right? Yeah. Like you said, surfer's code. And the first thing at the top of this thing says, give respect to gain respect. Right. And, I've been surfing a long time, like you guys, and Mitch, almost as long as Mitch. I don't know. Mitch has been surfing probably forever. But basically, surfers, because of the nature of how you get into surfing and how, like, you have to love to get pounded, right? Like if somebody is really having a good time getting pounded, they're probably going to be a good surfer at some point.
Yeah.
And so you kind of become kind of self-validated the more and more you do this. And so I see a lot out in the world, like the tendency, at least as a younger surfer or a, medium seasoned surfer, is that you kind of like, you've patted yourself on the back a lot for getting to where you're at. And so people may not be inclined to give respect a lot. Right. And so I think that's really key, is I think you got to give respect to gain respect. I see a lot of groms and part of some of these surf schools, and they don't do that. They kind of come out in a squad, and they have maybe the coaches and the uncles, and maybe they kind of work together to make sure other people don't get waves, or that they get,
Yeah.
so there's these different practices and approaches to getting to become an experienced surfer. So I think that in terms of safety, like, we're kind of coming back around to safety, the best way to be safe is to basically, have respect, right? If everybody in the lineup has respect for each other, that means that they're going to respect maybe the safety of other people as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%, Phil, because I think at a lot of spots, especially, because there's some people that are afraid to surf certain spots because there's not etiquette in the lineup, and I honestly, like, any spot there should be signs, specifically at the dangerous spots, but the respect should be everywhere, like not just at the dangerous spots, but every surf spot around the world, there should be some kind of respect.
Yeah.
Let the locals get their waves first, and then work your way in with those guys,
Respect.
and just watch the lineup. Like, don't look at the lineup with the horse blinders on. You got to look around you 360 degrees.
Yeah.
Like towards shore, and just the way the lineup works.
Yeah, I agree. I've been out at lowers, uppers, Huntington. I've been paddling for waves, and people, a lot of times because it's crowded, people are like right next to you, right? And people are like, on one hand, trying to make sure that somebody gets the wave at least, versus nobody. So, and if you don't know each other, they may not know if you are going to get that wave, even though you're paddling for it. But I mean, I've had people just, paddling up onto my board. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
pushing your board
Wow.
down, and then they, you kind of get in this arm lock paddle situation, right? And so like when that happens, that's not a good sign of respect. But so
That's being
yeah,
aggro.
yeah.
That's being too aggro.
Right. So, and then it's dangerous too, right? Because then you might be forcing an injury. If somebody, maybe you're a better surfer than the person you're tangling up with, and then you cause them to get hurt or hurt their equipment or what have you. So the next thing on here is right of way, right? So like, furthest, closest to the peak, right? Furthest inside, closest to the peak. Same thing. I don't want to just finger point at the groms, but trying not to snake, right? Like, and that's the next one down, which goes right with that, is dropping in or snaking. Now, nobody did this to Mitch. Mitch blew it on his own. So this is not.
I know I did. I did.
Yeah, and that, it was the ocean, right? The ocean.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
fell. I
Yeah.
fell. Simple as that.
Accidents
I
happen.
fell. I blew it.
Yeah, the ocean is hard to navigate as it is, especially when it's big. So, I mean,
That's why we're out there. We like that challenge, and
You do.
it challenged me that on that wave.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
like to push ourselves to ride bigger waves, and we're looking forward to several winners of Giant Surf, and hopefully we can send the message out to everyone that safety is number one, and that's the main priority. And I recommend not going big wave riding alone. Always have a partner with you,
yeah.
and just train as hard as you can so you can help
Really
yourself and help others.
Yep.
So I'm
Yeah.
going to run through this, and then I'm going to show some pictures of Mitch.
I don't know. That last one you showed was really good.
Yeah. So this one here.
The one you drew was perfect.
Oh yeah, that's pretty realistic. Pretty 3D.
Well, you made my fall look a little bit better
Yeah.
than it was.
Paddling out when you're, especially at a point break, there's no reason why you should be paddling right up. Sometimes if you paddle right through the section, you might be able to spin and get a wave, but you probably be in somebody's way.
Oh yeah.
Always surf your ability, kind of what you're saying, Liam. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you should really consider, like, it's hard, and that's, no one's there to tell us we can't do it.
Exactly.
So, and then you have to push yourself.
Mhm.
So, it's a real fine line on how you deal with that particular section, but definitely, like you said, training. If you're going to decide to go out on a day that's a foot or two bigger than you're normally comfortable with, maybe you should do some different kind of cross training or specific training, or come out with somebody that has done it before to help guide you through the process. Take off with commitment. I mean, that's key too. I mean,
Oh yeah, you
I
can't
feel-
think. You can't think. You just have to put your head down and go, because the second you hesitate, that's when accidents happen. Like when you go over the falls, you are most likely being hesitant. Like if you break a board, you probably made a mistake. Like if you go over the falls, well, everybody goes over the falls, because I know people that are committed to dropping in, but then they wipe out and then they get hit.
yeah.
But at the same time, knowing your limits is another thing, because I know some people want to go out there and just charge huge waves, but at the same time, it's beyond their limits. So I would say don't go out beyond your limits, and don't put yourself or anybody else's life at risk just because you want to go out. Like, you got to make sure that you're 100% equipped and committed into going out there. You have to believe in your ability and know it in your heart to be able to ride waves that are like 15, 20, 25, 30, like on up. You know what I mean? You work your way up the ladder. Like, you don't just paddle out.
Right. You know what? This one's not necessarily injury related, but like, so I try to practice good etiquette. Like, so if I'm paddling out and there's a set coming, and I see somebody who's like maybe straight in my line, they spin to get the wave.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I would love to tell people, if you're really not going to go for the wave, maybe don't spin, because what happens is it creates a chain reaction, right? So like, if I'm paddling out, if I see somebody spin like they're going to catch the wave, what ends up happening is I start doing what I'm supposed to do. I paddle towards the impact zone to let them get by me, not run me over, not interfere with their wave. But now if they just kind of like spin, but they're really, really not going to go. I see a lot of people do this all the time. Like the same, not like nobody in my head in particular, but I'll see the same person out there constantly spin on every wave. And I know they're not going to go after a few times I figured out. But then get the wave and then I'm over. So then I take a beating, right? Instead of being able to paddle up the wave, duck dive the wave, get through without any beating, I end up paddling to the thing, and then I see them decide not to go, and I'm like, "Oh, thanks, bro." Like now I got to take this on the head for you, right? Yeah. And then and then the last one here on this one, guys, before I share some other images, is don't let go of your board, and you know, it's kind of impossible to not always let go of your board, but you know. What I like to do is when I'm paddling back out and there's a bunch of people, everybody's paddling back out. If I know, I can tell that there's another set coming in, right? If I've got people behind me, a lot of times I'll try to draw a little bit different of a line just to get away from the person behind me, because I've been right behind people as well. They ditch their board and I'm like, whoa.
Isn't that scary? That
is scary.
That is the worst feeling in the world, when you're not just about to take the force of the wave on the head, but also somebody's board on top of that. That's not too much fun.
And if it's a longboarders, man, I get super scared when it's a longboarder who ditches his board in front of me. I'm like,
oh yes.
Oh. I'm like, oh, so pretty cool image there. I'm gonna share another one or a couple more things here. Let's see. Here we go. What up?
Hey.
Yeah. So you got so did this response vehicle come all the way up to on the sand, or did you have to get to the cement?
The lifeguard from Lowers, I got into their lifeguard truck down at Lowers, and the ambulance was waiting up on top of the bluff or the cliff.
Okay.
And then we all kind of met up there.
Okay.
And that's when they transported me into the ambulance there.
Right. Okay, cool. So you were in there, you were able to muster up a double shaka, which is good. That's good news. Right?
Yeah, because I felt like I was I was out of that situation, and I know how to handle my pain on the land a lot better than the ocean.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you guys made it to the hospital, right?
Yeah, that picture is a good news picture. When the doctor came in and said all I did was break my ribs and everything else was really going to be okay. So that was a great feeling right there.
Yeah. So if you guys, and I didn't mention it earlier, and if you don't know, you can see more of videos and stuff of Mitch on his surfing adventures at Stitch Farmer on Instagram. So Farner, yeah.
But I am a farmer too.
Yeah, and then look at this is before he got injured. Look how happy he was.
That hot blonde over there beside me.
Yeah, see, so yeah, there you go. And then of course, before I click off of this share here, Liam as well. You lost one of your accounts last year, I think, but you got a new one. Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
And then, and then there's you right there, huh? Let's see.
So Liam's doing really good in the pool.
Nice.
We're trying to see who can do a little better. We're trying to push each other, and he kicked my ass that day.
Okay, good. Good. Look at him. There he goes. Getting the rock. What is that thing?
That is a cinder block. It's like a gigantic
Wow.
brick. I don't know how much
Yeah.
it weighs, but it's
They're
like
heavy.
that's another realistic way to train is holding something and running with it at the bottom of the pool and seeing
Yeah.
how many times you can go back and forth.
There-
That's an excellent way to train.
There's quite a few different exercises that we do, and that's a good one.
Yeah, that definitely looks a really awesome way to be prepared and just doing something different.
Yeah.
So yeah, sir, Liam, how did you get, when you got into surfing, did you just like, was it friends or family that took you surfing back when you first started, or were you in a class, or how did you figure out, you know, your
Surfing was actually handed down to me by my father,
okay.
and my dad was a avid surfer from Long Island originally. And where my dad grew up surfing, they were very limited on waves because on the East Coast, the only time they really got swells when he was living on Long Island was from like hurricanes, wind swells, and wind swells only lasted for like a couple hours. Like my dad told me you can have 4 to 6 foot barreling waves, and then a couple hours into the session, it'll go flat.
Right.
So basically my dad, even if there was a 1 foot ripple out there, he would surf because they were limited. They were so wave hungry over there on the East Coast.
Right.
And then my dad moved out here, I think in the late 70s, early 80s, something like that. And then my dad just surfed every day with my godfather, Mike Russo,
Awesome.
who used to shape for Rusty surfboards.
Okay.
And basically, yeah, and I was born in 1999.
Woo.
And I didn't start surfing. I didn't start surfing until I was 8 years old, and I did do surf camps when I was a little kid with Surf and Fire and the Volcom surf camps down in Carlsbad and Del Mar. So that's how my passion really began.
Yeah.
And then as I got better, I started doing contests, and then after contests, I've always had big waves on the back of my mind. Like I remember watching all the Eddie I. Cow events, like when I was a little kid, like the 2004 one, even that was before I started surfing. I watched the 2009 one on TV, the one that Greg Long won. And that was just phenomenal to see a California surfer win the Eddie. Go Greg Long. Yeah, Greg Long is still one of my idols in the big wave world. Just watching him win the Eddie when I was a little kid, that was just so rad. And that's one of the reasons why I got into big wave surfing. And like all those years, I knew that I just had to gain experience before, and I knew I had to be around the right people. For example, I finally found Mitch. I actually met Mitch because his daughter Micaiah is my age, and she and I did the WSA events back in the day. And we did that for years on end. And then finally, I decided to throw in the towel for contests and focus mainly on just the pure fun of surfing. And then finally, I started going down to Blacks on some big heavy days with Mitch. And we've been having damn good times surfing down there in the winter on the massive Northwest swells. Like we wait till it's double overhead and we're down there. And then after that, then I had my first trip to the North Shore of Oahu recently and surfed maxed out sunsets. So that was an experience. And then I got to surf Todos this past winter. And I'm actually looking forward to my very first session at Mavericks coming up this winter.
Nice. That's pretty cool. That looks like a really fun, I mean, for big waves out there, it looks like a nice one. So you obviously came into surfing because it was handed down to you. You know, you probably came into it with, you know, the ideas of respect and things like that kind of built in.
I did. Like my dad did teach me respect, and he did teach me who to be around. And one of the reasons why I surf big waves is because of Mitch, because he inspires me. 55 years old, and this is all right, kids. No matter how old you are, you can still ride big waves when you get older. If you really push yourself, if you really follow your passions and aspirations. This guy is a classic example of that. He represents what the sport is all about, on my opinion. He's the reason why I surf these waves.
This guy.
Nice. Love it. I love it. You know, so in terms of, so surf community, right? So you know, we're just talking about attitudes, and obviously we're originally talking about safety and community and respect. And, And so, I think everybody out there hopefully keeps in mind, it's easy to kind of, be proud of yourself and your own surfing and try to take every wave you can at all times and be upset with people that don't surf as good as you. But, there's so many
No,
different people in the
no.
water, right? There's locals, there's the regulars that maybe don't live there, but come all the time. There's the elders, Mitch. There's Groms.
We just go out and have fun. We just go out and have fun and respect. We just have fun and respect everybody. That's what we do. That's what surfing is all about. Fun, respect, and
I don't know. This guy kind of gets a lot more waves than me. I get
no way.
upset.
Oh, no way. No, every winter when we're at Blacks, he always gets the biggest and best waves.
Oh, man.
What did I do? I'm taking it. He's getting all the best waves.
Yeah.
No way. He's at Blacks every winter. You'll see. He gets the biggest and best waves. He even got the best barrel of his life. Was it like a year and a half ago on film?
Yeah.
Like he gets all the best waves because he's put in the time and he knows the lineup a lot better than me. I'm still a young kid. Like I look up to this guy. Like we have a brotherhood that not a lot of. I don't want to put anybody down, but like not a lot of people have in the big wave community. Like Mitch and I both have each other. Like we're both looking out after each other, and we both enjoy surfing big waves together. We don't do it for the fame. We do it because we love it.
Yeah. And so
what fame?
Yeah, what fame? Yeah, exactly. What fame?
I just want the money.
Answer,
I just want the money.
Good answer. What fame? I'm going to say what fame.
But half of surfing, especially if you go to places like Lowers or Blacks or Huntington it's not just the ocean and yourself and where you're at, but it's navigating people, right? And that's what we're kind of talking about. There's there's locals, there's elders, there's Groms, there's salty.
All part of it.
There's salty middle-aged guys. There's women.
It's like our traffic. We have to deal with it. We have to deal with stupid drivers.
Yeah.
So when you get in your car every day, you're going to have an attitude because you live here, or you're going to get through it with a good attitude because you live here in traffic.
Yeah.
So
and I think people should really spend more time figuring out how to work with other people. Maybe they're not as good a surfer as you, right? They're in some of these other categories, but everybody needs to kind of, if you're going to be surfing there all the time with the same people, you have to work together. You have to share waves. You have to be nice to other people.
Yes.
Not everybody is the best surfer, or maybe they will be one day.
We all start somewhere. Start somewhere. Like it's just like with any sport. You can't get good at it unless you put in the time.
Right. So, I just want to encourage people to, definitely talk to people around you. A lot of times, a lot of surfers are callous. They're very, they have a shield around them,
Phil, coming from right here, we all don't have that much knowledge in big wave surfing living in Southern California.
Right.
We don't live in Hawaii.
Right.
We don't live in different parts of the world where waves are big through the year.
Exactly.
We are going kind of winging it.
We are.
So when we go to these places we were talking about,
like Blacks, Totos, those are the waves we have in our backyard.
Maybe not Blacks so much, even though I have all respect for that wave, but we've been stepping our level up, and those places that we're going to, we're coming from Southern California. We're not coming from a big wave area.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit makes it harder to get the seat time. They say in racing, the seat time.
Yep.
So our seat time, our hours in big waves isn't that many hours put in as much, but we have our goals, especially for him.
Right.
I've been around a while now. I'm pretty satisfied on where I'm at with my surfing, and
still inspires me daily.
But to see the younger kids that want to do it the right way,
right,
is really cool. And this guy is a great example for that. So, we're coming in a little less knowledge than
Sure.
guys that are used to it all the time.
Right.
So it's definitely something I would have started a little younger in my career, but I'm really, really been fortunate. Surfing's been very good to me, and so is all the people. So, dog.
Yeah.
You have to have a little bit of humility and a little bit, like you said, you have to, even if have gone, have a couple achievements in your belt, obviously you see some of the video of like places like Jaws where you're like,
That's
you see
next
the-
level.
you see the locals there though, and they're like,
That's-
oh my gosh, there's all these people that just show up that maybe don't have that much water time in big waves. And then it's
Yeah.
a little hard to navigate that, right? So like,
Yeah, and that's why we're really working hard in the swimming pool,
mhm,
because we can't get big waves all the time. So I know that's going to build confidence.
sure.
Anything we can do in the water is going to help.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
Because
Two
I don't
ways.
want to see this guy getting. I want to see this guy succeed
Yeah.
in what his dreams are, and he seems to be fun. Just watch this young kid right here. See what he's got this next.
I'm
year.
just having fun. And I do it because I have a great mentor. Like I wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for Mitch, because Mitch inspires me just as much as I inspire him. So our brotherhood works both ways. Like our relationship is a serious friendship, and we both have each other's backs out there, and we do it for the love.
Yeah, but this kid comes home with energy, and he wipes me out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
hang out. This guy tore up into the
Yeah.
surf session.
Yeah.
He could
I
carry
hear
me up the hill still.
Yeah, I hear you. I got friends heckling me because sometimes I'll go out for 40, 45 minutes. I get a bunch of waves. I'm done. And they're like, wait, where are you going? They're like, get back out there. Like,
Yeah.
well,
Good.
right on, guys. I mean, that was super awesome. I appreciate both you guys sharing your experience with the swell and with the injury and how to deal with it, and talking about, these different spots where they're high profile. There's a lot of people around, people out in the lineup. Everybody's not built to be a first responder, but sometimes just passing that information, at least to somebody else close by, and helping things move a little faster, can save a lot of pain for somebody has a bad injury, right? Because if it's 1 minute or 10 seconds or 5 minutes by somebody reacting, I mean, that probably feels, a lot better.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to say, surfing in these areas most of my life, I'll be the first to say I didn't ever think I could be hurt. How dumb.
I want to show you this, Liam. This is the only surf trophy we have in our house. And this is actually, let me put that little. So,
wow.
Son?
yeah,
So Healing
Your son.
Foundation.
yeah. So my son actually is the only trophy holder in the house. So he's been to several surfers healings, waves of impact, a walk on water.
Good for him.
All right.
Waves for All. I'm trying to throw all the names out there of all the places that organizations that have helped us share that experience with him too. So pretty cool. So I'm super stoked that you are also taking time, Liam, to kind of pass that stoke on.
Honestly,
that's
good for
great.
your son too. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm glad more people are getting involved with surfers healing and giving opportunities to kids that we don't get to experience every single day.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah. So pretty cool for those organizations out there. Keep up the good work. And anybody who's volunteering, super awesome. I'm kind of, probably not a lot of shortboarders. You guys got to learn to longboard and help out.
No, they ride whatever you want, ladies and gentlemen. Ride whatever makes you happy. That's what the sport of surfing is.
Especially if I can, get waves easier than you. Yeah.
Well, we
kidding.
just
Just
have
kidding. Yeah, just kidding, guys. Okay, so everybody, man, thanks for hanging out. Everybody who chimed in, and I appreciate that as well. Before we go, I want to tell you guys, I want to let both these guys, Mitch, any shout outs that you want to give to anybody related to the scenario or just in general?
Sure. So my experiences have been really, really good with a few guys. We already know Liam here. So I just want to shout out to my big brother, Matt Allen from
Okay.
Swami's,
Matt.
and Jeff Morris and Sean and John Sherry.
Cool.
Those three guys have been really good to me, and I want to thank them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Are they part of the club too? Swami?
They're guys I look up to.
Okay, perfect.
And I feel confident when I'm surfing with those guys
That's
when we do
awesome.
our thing. So
That's
thanks for
beautiful.
let me hang with you guys when we go do that.
Right on.
So
Right
big
on,
shout out
guys.
to all three of those guys.
Yeah, and Liam, how about yourself? Is there some people you'd like to shout out as well?
Well, my first one's already sitting next to me.
Yeah.
But I want to give a shout out to like all the people, just everyone who's supported me and that's been on this journey with me, like my parents, my friends, just anybody who's been there for me and given me opportunities. I just want to give a special shout out to family, friends. I love you all. And I just want to say thank you. I wouldn't be here without you. And thank you so much for the continuous support. And I'm so glad you're on this journey with me.
Yeah, that's your A1 team right there, family and friends, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah. So I appreciate everybody. You know, I like to tell you too, I got some videos from this week. They're already up on my channel. I think I have 1 or 2 more coming. So you'll see several of the days, at least maybe not at lowers, but down the way a little bit. So yeah, check those out. There's a couple of me on there surfing as well. So if you want to call me a kook, you're more than welcome. I have no problem with that. I'm a kook on any.
All your
given day.
waves, they were looking pretty nice.
Yeah, so I actually saw your Instagram,
Did
like
you?
ripping on your mid length. You're killing it.
Yeah.
You're killing it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the
Yeah,
motivation.
it's so rad. And like, it looks like you're having a lot of fun. And remember, the best surfer out there is the one having the most fun. Doesn't matter what skill level you are, but you were absolutely shredding on that mid length. I loved watching you.
Thank you. I'm happy to learn and try something new, you know, and I'm actually.
You're pushing it. You're pushing it. You're doing good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank
Shout
you
out
guys.
to you, Phil, you know, for having us and for giving us an opportunity to share our experience with you and the rest of the audience out there. Shout out to you for keeping us updated and just, you know, keep like what's going on in the surf community. And
yeah, I appreciate that. I you know, and the people that watch, you know, stay along for the ride on the channel. You'll notice all my videos. I mean, what happens, I shoot the camera when I don't always bring it. I'm usually surfing. And if I bring the camera, I get everybody, right? Like it's kind of like a moment in time, whatever it's 30 minutes or an hour. And so you'll see everybody. And I don't care what their skill level is. I put it on there. So sometimes people watch and they're a little bummed because they're like, what do you mean this is an epic surf session? You know, these guys suck. And I'm like, you know, I mean, sure, but they're having so much fun, right? So I'm just trying to share the fun and show you like how it really is. Like when you go surfing, it's not just everybody's a ripper, right? Like, so yeah, I appreciate everybody enjoying those videos, and also local musicians who a lot of times I just try to work with people in the surf community or people who make music around town and try to put their music in there. So sometimes they're just people riffing out and making up music, and I try to fit that in. So if you have music out there, reach out, please. We're always looking for people to add more different music or varieties of music in there too.
Yeah, Phil. Okay. Yeah.
Well, right on, guys. Everybody, thanks again. Subscribe and like and comment, share all that good stuff. And if you get a chance, catch these guys on Instagram as well and follow the journey.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.